What up, y'all? It's the King, and I got another one. I'm gonna call this the knowing, so stay tuned. So yeah, y'all, I just was tapping back in. I'm gonna roll my window so y'all don't get too much wind from that side. I was just tapping back in on this series of manifestation, I guess we'll call it, but I'm calling it the knowing, because I've always known. Like, I've always known that I was who I was and supposed to live a life that was of grandeur. You know, they say people have the delusions of grandeur, and now I'm starting to understand why, because most people would look at these type of lives as delusional based on what the constructs of life will tell you you can and can't have, right? And really, at the end of the day, it's up to you to make the decision based on what you feel inside. But you have to have a knowing, which I've always had. And I could trace this all the way back to me being in kindergarten, realizing that it was something different about me from the rest of the classroom. A little quick story, or a little brief history of me when it comes to work, because I'll tell y'all now, at this age, I don't want to do shit ever, but just exist and be as abundant and rich as possible, as I always have been. But like, I don't want to have to physically, like, I don't want to pick up a box to get a result, because I don't feel like that's the only way to get a result, right? And when you think historically throughout time of people, everybody's path is not the same. You know, some people feel like they got to do that. Some people understand that they just have to exist to be within who they are and the abundance that they feel like they have, that's right, not even that they deserve, but that's rightfully theirs, that they were born for. I used to work for the city, you know, and people could look at it as lazy. That's what I wanted to say. But one thing about me, y'all take a look at me. I know a lot of the videos are from like the face, and you don't really get to see me. Maybe one day I'll get on the camera and you actually get to see me. But one thing I am not is lazy. Like, I work out every day. This is a way of life. Like, health is first for me. And being able to look good and all that stuff, that's a high priority for me. So with that, there's no laziness that you can consume and have the type of results that a person like me has. So that's number one. I used to work for the city. It was the first major job I got, right? I had to drink my tea. The first major job I got, I was working for the city of Philadelphia. Actually, before that, though, I was working for a law firm. My aunt had got me this job at this law firm, right? And I remember I got fired from the law firm because I was going to fight the supervisor, because he said some slick shit to me. And you're just not going to say any kind of slick shit to me, especially at a job that's paying me a check that I'm going to spend it the same day that I get it. Like, this ain't no money. That's why I'm spending it like this. You can't fool me to save some money that you can burn in a day. That ain't never going to work like that for me. That's just not how that goes. That's why I be literally on tape burning fucking money, because we're just not doing that. But whatever. But the city job, I remember when I got the city job, right? And I've always been like a proponent of the music industry, so I was always doing that type of stuff on the side, always trying to figure out what my thing was, because the city, when I got that job, I never looked at it as my thing, right? I remember when I first got that job and everybody was talking about how much of a great job it was, and you could work there for 40 years and you would get in a drop plan and you get $100,000. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna make $100,000 in my fucking sleep. I don't need 40 years to make $100,000. But it was a guy there. And y'all know I don't say names, but I'm gonna say this guy's name. His name was Billy. I'm gonna just hold back his last name. Billy was one of the coolest people I had met. He was the supervisor of the room next to me, so that's probably why he was cool with me, because he wasn't my boss necessarily, because I'm pretty sure they probably had something to say about him next door. But Billy was cool, but Billy, I'm gonna describe Billy to y'all. Billy was a short, maybe 5'3" guy. He looked like the Penguin. Like, y'all know the Penguin from Batman? He looked exactly like the Penguin. He wore a toupee, and he lived in South Philly with his mother. And Billy was telling me about how good this job was. And it was like, at that, I was 20 when I got this job. And I remember the first day I went to work, Billy was having this conversation with me, among other people. But Billy sticks out because Billy was everything that I never aspired to be, was not in any of my dreams. I didn't think about these things at all coming up. Like, and God bless Billy. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's dead or alive to this day, but Billy was just a guy living his life. It was his journey, and I'm not here to knock it, but it was not my journey. So him giving me the piece about how this was going to be a good job for me, it just didn't make sense. I remember thinking that while he's telling me this on the first day. So I worked this job for 3.5 years, literally. Never took no days off, no shit like that. Maybe here or there, but nothing major. And I remember I would get paid, and I was literally blowing the money. Like, the money wouldn't last through the weekend. At the time, I was living at home with my mom when I first started the job. Now, I started doing other things, like within music and promoting parties while I was working there, so that was helping sustain me. And I eventually moved out and was doing other stuff. But I was working for the city. This was like my day job. And everybody was like, keep this day job, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. And it was like, ugh, I can't fuck with it. It just was too much. Anyways, I remember eventually I had worked in the filing room, then I had worked, like when you actually file papers, then it was the first filing room where you do it on the computer, or, you know, did we have computers? Yeah, we had computers back then, so you would type it into the computer and whatever, what have you, right? Or no, we wasn't even, we were stamping the shit. It was crazy. But then eventually I had gotten to this room that was called liens and judgments, where people would come look up like that liens on properties and judgments on properties and shit like that. And this part of the job was sweet because I was the only person in there, and literally people would just come through and look through the books. All I had to do was sit there all day, right? So I was like, I could do this, right? And so something happened. Don't get me to lying because I don't remember exactly what it was, but it caused a stir, and it was me. It was a couple of people that were like my age or close to my age that worked for the city. It was another boy, his name was Jason too. They used to call us the twins. He was a white boy. And it was like a couple girls or whatever. We were all young. And something happened, which didn't involve me at this particular time. I was always into some shenanigans, but this one didn't involve me. So my boss, like the major boss of the office, he like got pissed, and he just started like moving everybody the fuck around, right? He came in the office and was like, you going back to second filing and something. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do, right? So that really pissed me off, and it really showed me, like, you can't do this. Like, there's no way you could work in a place. It's not good for your spirit. There's no way you could work in a place where they could just tell you, fuck you whenever they ready, and just throw you wherever they feel like they want to. That's just never going to work for me. I just can't do it. Like, I tried it. I promise I worked there for 3.5 years. So I stopped going to work, right? One day I just didn't go. I just was like, fuck this place. And I stopped going to work. Didn't quit, did nothing. Just started not showing up. And I did this shit for like 3 weeks, and then eventually it was a guy named Reggie O'Head. I think Reggie passed on. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. Reggie was a good dude, but Reggie called me. He was like, you know, what you doing with the job? I was like, nothing. I'm just chilling. And he was like, well, the boss wants to speak to you. So the boss called me. And mind you, when I said I never took sick time, right? I had all this sick time. It was probably like 3 months of sick time that I had used, that I hadn't used, right? Vacation time, you use that. But the sick time was just piling up. It's probably like 3 months of this shit. So I remember it was another lady that worked there. Her name was Nina, and she had stopped coming to work. I remember she didn't come to work for like six fucking months. It did lose a job because we was in a union. So the union protected our jobs or whatever, right? So I remember thinking when I talked to the boss, he was like, well, could you just come back to work and resign? I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to use all my sick time before I leave this job. I was like, y'all not getting it. Y'all not doing it. Y'all was throwing me around like a fucking rag doll. Now y'all want something from me. And in that moment, it showed me like my power. You know what I mean? Like they try to make you feel like you're powerless when it comes to the things that they need you for. They feel like there's no dog. They'll make you feel like there's no dog in your fight. You're just going to have to do what they ask you to do until you kind of wield the power against them. And it shows you how much power you have from the jump. So I was like, I'm going to just put my exit strategy together. I'm going to use these 3 months to just fuck off, do what I want, but figure out what I'm going to do next and go from there. And I did it. I remember I got my wisdom teeth taken out because I had this insurance. I remember that was a big thing with that job. They was talking about, like, you get this great insurance. And, like, at the time, it was just me. I didn't give a fuck about no insurance. I was young or whatever. But I went to the doctor maybe once or twice the whole 3 years that I was working there, which was crazy. But I was young. You know, you're young, you don't do that type of shit. I remember I went to the dentist, which was my cousin at the time. Well, my mom's cousin was my dentist when I was younger. And he suggested that I get my wisdom teeth taken out since I had this insurance to use it before it ran out. So I remember that was one of the major things I did, was get all 4 of my wisdom teeth taken. I was 23 when this happened. That's when I left that job. And I remember leaving that job and I went straight into party promoting. I was promoting at different clubs, and I remember I was promoting parties at Temple University. That went really well. And then I was promoting at a club called Adrenaline. They used to be, that's where the Sugar House in Philadelphia is. Well, it's called, not Parks, it's another casino now, but it was the Sugar House when they first built it. And then we left Adrenaline and went around the corner to 4th Street to Suite 450. So I did like a lot of different party promoting and made some money in that space. And I did that up until I started doing tags. And when I did tags was like a really, really good, like, that was good for me. I made a lot of money doing tags. And it was cool for a while, but then after a while, it started to feel like work and started to feel like a lot of energy that I was exerting to do so. You know, I had some people who worked for me, which I may have talked about in other videos and stuff like that. It was a cousin of mine and somebody I used to be cool with. They used to work for me. But a lot of the times they did the bare minimum basic. So I was paying them just to do something I could have done, where it was like trying to get them to fill out the whole role so I could venture off to do other things or whatever. But I ain't gonna get too much into the story, but like, I remember like with that, I had Puerto Rico. I had Puerto Rico from doing tags. And I remember, you know, I would deal with different situations. It's almost like the drug game, because it gives you a lot of loopholes to make a lot of money where you're not supposed to make a lot of money. Like I made a lot of money. I didn't show a lot of money. So I didn't have to, you know, you show a whole lot of money, you paying taxes. I was showing that I was making the bare minimum and was stuffing a whole bunch of money in the mattress. So it felt like to a sense it was drug dealing. But at the same time, it wasn't. And I remember when I got indicted and I went through that whole situation or whatever, I remember a lot of people were like, you gonna open back up? Because there's always loopholes and ways to open back up, like once you get shut down, right? And I remember thinking to myself, like, no, I don't want to do this no more. It was like I was just working, you know, and not for nothing. I definitely was doing some underhanded stuff. Not underhanded to hurting the people, but fucking with the system, like it is what it is. And then I just remember, like, it's like I got locked up behind it though. Like I really, and not only just that, it was like I was doing it for the people, and the people are in turn the ones who told on me. You know what I mean? Like he does this there, he does that there. So it's like I was doing this. It's like you do favors for people. Of course I'm getting paid, you know, I'm not doing it for free, but it's like you do favors for people, and in turn, when it gets tough, they gonna do what they have to do for themselves, which is, I have my way of thinking about that. Like at the end of the day, during that whole situation, I kept my mouth shut, tight-lipped. I could have done some things like told the cops that it was the 2 dudes that worked for me and I had nothing to do with it. I had so many options, but it was like, just take it on the chin, because I didn't want my people to get locked up or no shit like that. But I think about it now, like, and I remember in one video I said, would I do it differently? And I say no. But sometimes I do think, yeah, maybe I would do it differently, because I think about things, and I like to say that I don't regret life because it's brought me to this place, which I'm absolutely fine with. I have no regrets about being where I am, because I know where it's taking me. I know the trajectory that I'm on. So, but with that being said, it's kind of like, with that attitude, it's like running a business in a sense is like a job too. I never wanted to run a business in a sense of like being there. Like if I run a business, I want to be like the Waltons who run Walmart, where I'm not thinking about shit that's going on in Walmart. I don't give a fuck who's stealing out of there, where shipment got lost. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I'm just a stockholder, shareholder, and my money's coming in. That, when I think about business, that's where I would like to be, versus actually working a business. So it's always been things, even when I was doing party promoting, it was fun, but I knew eventually I would get older and it wouldn't be fun anymore, because people come with energy, where it's like I understand what I've been through and what I experienced. So I understand that my message can help people who are going through the same things that I've been through, where that's where I feel like my value would always lay. Even when I did the hoodie march, it was like, you know, that was the start of the Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of people don't know that I'm like one of the people that had a hand in starting it unknowingly, because I didn't look at it as Black Lives Matter. Whoever those people are, they did what they did and ran with it. Kudos to them. But it was a pressure I really wasn't ready for, because I understand the energy of people. And at the time, I just wasn't ready for the energy of people, especially. And that was like right after I got indicted that I had did that. So it wasn't so much about the work, because even within that, I worked with my brother for a while, and that shit was low energy because he just, another story for another day. Just say his business has been in the same spot it's been when he started it 25 years ago. And that's what I'm saying. It's like my ability or drive to work, it never lacks. It's just dealing with the energy of what comes with it. And it's not necessary. Like, if I could work in a coal mine by myself, I would do it with no problem. Of course, you got to pay me what I want to get paid to do it, but I would do it. But like, to do things that involve people so much in such an interactive basis, like when I did the tags, and when I tell y'all I made boatloads of money doing tags, like boatloads, y'all. Like, that's how I made my first $1 million, is doing auto tags. Like, literally, no bullshit. I was counting so much paper it didn't make no sense. But it was the people that you had to deal with. I remember it was this one guy that used to come in. He was a friend of my cousin that had got me, that had helped me get my business off the ground. This guy, he used to drive, I ain't gonna say his name, but he used to drive a school bus. And I remember this guy would come in all the time, right? And he would do the tag deal. Like, now he would like do tag deals for people. You know what I mean? Like, people would bring him the tag stuff and pay him the money. And then he would in turn bring them to me, and I would process them and then give them to him, and he would do. And he would always come and he would bring a tag deal to the tag deals. And he would always be like, is it okay if I bring you $5 back? And blah, blah, blah. He always would do it. And the crazy part was, for a long time, I would let him. And I remember one day I just snapped on him. I was like, nigga, no. Because you never bring me the $5 back. But this is the type of shit that you got to deal with, especially as a Black person in business. Somebody always wants something for free, or always wants something at a discount. So it was like those type of things were the things that like deterred me from wanting to be so ingrained in business for myself at that level. Like, and even like my businesses that didn't get off the ground, like it was a bar that I had that fell, but it was me having to deal with people is the reason that it fell the way that it did. So yeah, I failed 1 million times in business, and I feel like that shows that's a stark reflection of my ability to work. Is I've tried my hand at so many different things. You know what I mean? Like, there's always something that I've tried to do. Like my years in the music business, like I've gone hard for artists. I mean, all I was the representation, but I'm going extra hard for artists, put myself in and out of these labels, these brands, and all this stuff. Had some success, nothing too crazy or major. The most successful artist I worked with was Uzi, but I worked with a plethora of no names that I've put them in some great spaces, and that in turn has to be a tag team thing, because I can only put you in the space, but once I put you in the space, I can't give you my sauce. You got to be the reason for the season after I do that. And most of them guys fell short there. So it was like so many different things that I tried to do before that involved people, to where it's now like I understand I've always been the source, and I'll speak on my own accord for myself. You know what I mean? Like, I've always been the source for myself, and it's coming into that knowing and coming into that realization that has the greatest reward and promise for your future. So, and like I said, like I call this video the knowing. I've always known it. That's the thing. I've always known this shit. Like, I've never not known it. I've always known I was here to do something special. I was always here to be very, very abundant. Even with going through the season that I'm going through with losing so much, it was to show me it was always you. Like, you always knew it. Like, you never needed anything else to be who you are. You never needed anyone else. And that's a lesson, because I'm looking around the room at like a lot of things that I was involved in and people that I was involved with. And most of these things and people are still like intertwined with other things, feeling like that's what gives them the fuel, right? Even me telling my story is what propels me. Even me telling the trials and tribulations of what I've gone through versus me trying to talk about Puff Daddy's mess or somebody else's mess that don't concern me and ain't none of my business, right? I don't mind giving my opinion on things from here to there. But most of the time, even with that, it's kind of like subjective because I wasn't there, I don't know, and I got my own shit to deal with. But I understand it's my own shit that's going to propel me into the spaces and places that will create the success, and not only that, fulfill my purpose and leave the legacy that I'm here to leave. So yeah, I just wanted to tap in and make this quick video. The knowing, it's like you gotta know, you know what I mean? And 9 times out of 10, if you're watching this video, you do know, you know what I mean? You looking for somebody to tell you, but you don't need nobody to tell you. I'm telling you, you don't need nobody to tell you because I'm living proof that you don't need nobody to tell you that you're great. So just be great and do great things. And as always, it's the King. I'm signing out. I will see y'all the next time. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe to the video. I see y'all peeking, but we got to get this channel popping like the last channel was popping. Because that last channel was paying me a nice little couple $. And I need this one to do the same thing. So, and it is going to do what it's going to do. I know things take time. Sometimes they don't take time because time is all a construct too. Because I am the person that I am. I was and I'm going to be right now, regardless of what the 3D is reflecting, because it's about the knowing, right? So just know, and you got it. All right. Peace, y'all.